So, hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to today's conversation. So, I'm Amanda, I'm on the Life at Humber team, and this is the We Got You Live series where we answer your big questions every week on Monday at 11. So, tune in every week. Um, a little bit more about today's guest. Her favorite things are coffee, yoga, and podcasts. Her favorite podcast is actually called Around the Curl, so definitely check that out. And beyond that, she's also a counselor at Humber. And so, with that said, I'm excited to introduce Rose. Thank you so much for being part of the podcast, the We Got You Live series today.
No problem. Really happy to be here. So thanks for the invite.
Oh gosh, it's our pleasure.
My first Instagram live ever.
Oh, hey, I'm so happy to have that with us. That's awesome. So let's get started. So my first question for you is, why is mental health important to address in a pandemic?
Well, first I want to say mental health is important to address, pandemic or no pandemic. So I'm just going to put that out there. But I think it's particularly important to address right now because the pandemic has created a lot of stress and uncertainty that none of us were prepared for. So it's sort of like one day we're living this sort of normal, predictable life, and then overnight everything changes. Like all of a sudden we're isolated. We've lost our social connections due to the restrictions. Some people have had to lose their jobs or reduced hours, so there's been increased financial stress. For students, all of a sudden you had to like transition to learning virtually and online. So you lost your peer connections, you lost your teacher connections. And then for our mature students or just parents out there, all of a sudden you're either working full time or in school full time and then needing to take care of your children without the additional childcare that you were used to. And then not to mention all the racial trauma that we've had to witness on top of a pandemic. So I just think it's been a lot of additional stress and new stress that we weren't prepared for. So I think the pandemic is really testing us mental health wise. And our mental health is really our emotional and psychological well-being that helps us to cope and deal with challenges. It's like the part of us that knows how to think and act and behave in ways that help us to get through challenges and to just experience a positive sense of well-being. And I think that that's been really tested because of all this new stress. So a lot of us have had to learn new strategies, new ways of thinking and perspectives, learning new self-care, whatever, like new kind of resources to be able to manage all of this stress and all of these new obstacles. So I think it's really important.
Yeah, super important. And I like that you mentioned that addressing mental health even outside of the pandemic is so important because like you said, it's that resilience piece to allow us to,
Absolutely.
take in these challenges and overcome them. So I really appreciate that. And a lot of the different challenges you described, I think a lot of listeners can really appreciate and kind of feel validated from because I think experiencing a pandemic as a student is very unique. And so, what are aspects of mental health that are important to consider specifically for students?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I do think there's a few things. So I think our sleep is really important right now, our physical health and what we're consuming. So our diet and nutrition. So, oh, you have coffee there. I'm jealous. um, anyways, I digress. In terms of sleep, it's really important for us to get sleep because that's how our body and our brain recover and it helps us to kind of recover from stress. So ideally, you want to have 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. And I know for some people that can sound like a lot, but it is for optimal functioning.
Mm-hmm.
Also for students, sleep is so helpful in terms of memory and consolidating the information that we're learning. A tired brain just doesn't, take in information well or cope well. And then of course, sleep is really important even for our immune system. So we know that we're living in a pandemic, there's a virus out there. So we want a really strong immune system to fight off anything that we come into contact with. So sleep is really important for that. Physical health is super important because there's been so much research to show that exercise helps in helping us to manage our stress, our anxiety. It's like a natural mood booster that we have within us. So when we exercise, we actually create increased endorphins. So they're like kind of like our happy hormones. So physical health is really important because it does elevate our mood. And again, also helpful with our immune system to help us to fight off diseases. And then diet and nutrition is important. So consuming good food for our brain and our body to function really well. So that's like balanced meals, you know, a range of proteins and carbohydrates. Not my area of expertise. So I'm going to give a little shout out to the nurses in the health center, and we'll probably talk about them a little bit later. But if you are not eating very well, or you're noticing that you're tired, you might want to reach out to them. They do nutritional coaching, so they can help you to figure out how to eat well for this time and balanced. But I know probably a lot of us are eating junk food because it's a pandemic, and that's okay. But you just want to kind of monitor that, because it's calories, but it's not actually nutrients for our body, and we really need to nourish our bodies really well right now.
Yeah, you're totally right. So many of what you said, like it kind of felt like it was speaking to me, because I'd be eating poorly, a lot of McDonald's, sleeping badly, and what you mentioned about a tired brain isn't functioning at its best. I can totally relate to that, and I'm sure a lot of people tuned in today can as well. So thank you so much for sharing so much value already. And if folks are tuning in right now and have missed kind of the earlier part, don't worry, we're going to post the entire conversation to our IGTV. So definitely check back on our Instagram page to see that content. So Rose, you talked a lot about awesome resources at Humber. Specifically, what are mental health supports available to students?
Okay, good question too. So I'm going to just talk about 3 services that are within my larger department. So, which is SWAC, the acronym is SWAC, but it's called Student Wellness and the Accessibility Center. So if you were a student who had actually gone, like a student pre-COVID, we would have been on the 2nd floor in the LRC at the North Campus, or if at the Lakeshore Campus, it's that building right at Kipling and Lakeshore. So it houses health services, counseling that I work from, and accessibility learning services, and they all address their mental health to different extents. So in terms of health services, it's housed specifically with doctors and nurses, and they focus on your physical health, but also your mental health by way of mental health assessments. So if you feel like maybe I have it, like, you know, I'm having a lot of mental health symptoms and I want to know if I have a diagnosis, you can make an appointment with a doctor and they'll do a mental health assessment. Or if you require medication for mental health, you go to health services. So they provide mental health assessments, and they do provide a little bit of mental health support. But if you're specifically looking to address like mental health issues and your emotional and psychological well-being, that would be my department, which is the counseling department. So we focus on students' emotional well-being primarily through talk therapy. So students at any point in their time, in their life, encounter difficulties. Sometimes those difficulties can cause a lot of distress and interfere with your ability to function and to, attain the goals of success and growth that you may be looking for. So we provide a safe, confidential sort of environment where you're able to talk through your problems and your issues and just focus on overall well-being and functioning. We listen non-judgmentally, we ask questions, and we help to work through whatever issues you're experiencing. And can I give a little shout out to some groups that we're doing? So outside of individual therapy, we are also providing a lot of groups. So we have a group called Healthy Minds for Stressful Times on Tuesdays from 1:30 to 3, and we address like stress, anxiety, overwhelm, being compassionate towards yourselves. And it's a group that you attend, and every group we provide you with a strategy that you can use related to the topic. We also have a mindfulness workshop coming up on November 5th from 2:30 to 4. So all of this should be on the Humber website under the counseling. And then we also have a 3rd group called Learning to Manage Difficult Emotions. It is a closed group, meaning there's only a certain amount of people allowed. And I think it is full for this semester, but it's probably going to be running next semester. So in addition to one-on-one, we're also trying to reach out to students by giving some groups. And then the last services, accessibility learning services. So they also address mental health by way of providing academic accommodations. So if you have a mental health diagnosis or a physical diagnosis or a learning diagnosis that is getting in the way of school, you can meet with them, provide them with documentation, and they'll provide some academic accommodations, or kind of like focus on, okay, given, maybe you're diagnosed with depression and anxiety and it's impacting your focus and your concentration, your ability to get to school, how can we help you to be successful? What accommodations can we provide to you so that you're still able to be successful despite these restrictions or limitations? So that's it all in a nutshell.
Oh, that was fantastic. I was trying to write some notes because there's so many different things you touched on that I wanted to kind of just bring light to again. Like, I think it's so great that Humber has all of those services, like health, counseling, and accessibility learning services, all within like one bubble. And so if folks listening are interested, because today we're really going to highlight a lot of the specific services through counseling. And so if you want to learn more about health or accessible learning services, we've done We Got You Lives in the past with some folks from those spaces. So again, check out our We Got You Live for those conversations to learn more. And as Rose mentioned, all the amazing groups that she brought light to, the Healthy Minds for Stressful Times, the mindfulness group, and the others, that you can find that on the Student Life events calendar. You'll see the schedule running there.
Oh,
So
great. Oh, amazing.
yeah, all in the bio. So check that out. And so another question from you, Rose, for you. Specifically, what counseling programs are available to Humber and Guelph Humber students through SWAC?
Right. So another tool that we actually have, it's an online therapy tool, and it's called TAO. So that stands for Therapy Assisted Online. And it's basically an online therapy tool that's available for Humber and Guelph Humber students free of charge. And what it is you access it online, and it provides educational modules and like self-help modules on various mental health issues. So things like anxiety, stress, depression. There's some modules on self-care. If you're into meditations, there's a lot of guided meditations as well. So it's just another way to provide mental health support. And again, as long as you are a Humber student, have a Humber and Guelph Humber email, you can log on and create sort of your own account and go through all of the material that's there to help you kind of cope and to provide you with some educational information on the mental health issues. It is a tool that you can use in conjunction to attending counseling. So sometimes your counselors will refer you to this online tool, or you can access it without having ever had a one-on-one appointment for counseling. So it's really available for all of the Humber community, as long as you have a Humber, Guelph Humber email, and it's completely free of charge.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if you want the website or you want me to give you that later and you'll put it out, or.
So you can actually go to our link in bio, and I believe we already have the therapy assistance online link to it. So you can check that out as soon as we're done here. So no worries for that.
Okay, great.
It's like such a great tool, especially since it's self-guided and there's content on self-care. And I just want to make mention to folks tuned in, like, keep asking your questions. We've kind of left some time at the end of our chat to address them. So we love seeing them. So don't worry, we see them. We're not ignoring them. We're going to answer them at the end.
Oh, I can't see them though. I guess only you can see them?
Yes, I guess I'm the master of questions here.
Oh, okay.
But I think, yeah, they'll be good for other people to hear. So what other services specifically within counseling is there accessible to students? We mentioned TAO, actually, okay, so you talked about TAO, and it's free, which is amazing, because students, like, it's great where we can save money. Okay, and then we have the link. And so let's talk about counseling services specifically, like actually meeting with somebody.
Absolutely.
What does it mean to see a counselor?
So what does it mean? It means that you are getting support from a professional mental health practitioner. So we're either registered psychotherapists or social workers, and we assist you with any issues or challenges that are happening in your life that are impacting your functioning in a negative way, or your well-being in a negative way. So we normally see students for a range of issues like depression, anxiety, stress, relationship issues, family issues, sexuality issues. Like, so nothing is off limit. Any kind of personal issues that you're having, you can come to counseling, connect with another human being who's a professional in mental health, and will listen to you non-judgmentally, respectfully, and provide you with a safe space to really work through your issues. And we really focus on figuring out how do we help you manage your issues and to cope better despite what's going on in your life. I do want to say we're a diverse group of counselors. So we have counselors that are LGBTQ identified, racialized, of different age ranges and different genders. So we try really hard to reflect the diversity of our students here. And obviously with COVID, everything is provided digitally right now. Right. And it is completely free and confidential.
That's amazing. Again, we love the word free. So awesome. Yeah. I'll just share really quickly. When I was a student at Humber, because I graduated a couple of years ago, I accessed counseling services, and it changed my Humber experience. Being a student is so hard, right? And so great to have somebody who either understands your your racial identity, or how you identify like with your sexual preference or your gender identity. It's so amazing that we have access to people who are there to help us and be successful academically. So thank you so much. And I have a note here. We had somebody ask about Good to Talk. So what's Good to Talk?
Oh, great. So Good to Talk is actually, that's a great question. It's actually a service. It's for students who reside in Ontario, Nova Scotia. So that's important to know. But it's it's a telephone counseling support line, and it's available 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And we usually encourage students to access it after hours because counseling is only available from 8:30 to 4:30. So outside of that, you might need some extra support outside of those hours. So we would say reach out to Good to Talk. Or if maybe you contact counseling and you need an appointment and you can't get it right away and you need some immediate support, definitely reach out to Good to Talk. It is professional counselors that you are talking to that will provide some support. And it is, again, free and confidential. And it's specifically for post-secondary students.
That's awesome. Because, yeah, the post-secondary experience is so unique. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Especially after hours, like time period. So awesome.
Yeah, and we're available all the time.
Yeah, because you never know when you need help, right? Sometimes you just need somebody to talk to, and you can't really have that. You can't schedule that.
Exactly. Absolutely.
That's amazing. And so for folks outside of Ontario and Nova Scotia, what are other resources available to them as well?
Right. So another resource that we have for students outside of Ontario, Nova Scotia, and particularly actually for our international students, because we do have some students that are studying and are still back home and do require some support. We do have another sort of virtual online support tool called Keep Me Safe. Sorry, I just had to look down to look at the name for it. Again, it provides counseling. It's also free and confidential. And what's great about this, especially for especially for international students, but it doesn't have to be international students, is that you have counselors that speak different languages and that are from very different cultural backgrounds. So that's kind of unique in terms of a service. So again, you can reach out to them, similar to Good to Talk. They're available any time of the day, and they will provide you with support. And I believe it might be more than just telephone support. There might actually be an opportunity for virtual counseling support as well. So it's called Keep Me Safe.
That's amazing. And I think I just missed it. You mentioned they speak different languages too?
Yes. So they have counselors that speak different languages. So if you call and let's say you feel more comfortable in your native language, you can ask if there's a counselor that speaks that language. And I believe they have counselors that speak like many different languages. So.
Oh, that's so amazing. Because yeah, it's hard to put into words like some different challenges. Like I was in an exchange program and I only was able to speak French, and I had so much trouble just like trying to convey things like I don't know how to eat or how I was feeling. So that's awesome. Especially when you're feeling vulnerable and you just need someone to talk to.
Yeah, in the language that you feel most comfortable in. So yeah, that's a great like kind of unique feature.
That's amazing, really cool. And so I'm also referencing notes. So I turned away. Outside of SWAC, what services? So SWAC being Student Wellness and Accessibility Center. I'll start that again.
Center. Yeah, center. I think I might have said services, but it is center.
So outside of Student Wellness and Accessibility Center services, what services are there to support students with mental health in general? Because we know it's not just about like counseling or accessing accommodations or our health. There's so many other aspects. So are there other spaces that you want to give a shout out to at Humber that can help students as well?
Absolutely. So again, if you want specific like talk therapy, that's counseling. We've already spoken about it. But there are other services available at Humber that really help to kind of elevate your mental health and particularly provide that social connection that I think we're all missing. I think a lot of people are feeling lonely and isolated. So we have great services. I'll name a few. You tell me to stop if I'm going on too long. So we have what's FYE, which is first year experience. It's for students that are in their first year of studying, or maybe also their first time, they may be first in their family to attend a post-secondary institution. So you can access services through them. I think they have a mentorship program. They also do a lot of activities and workshops. So they, you create a bit of a community of students who are going through sort of the same challenges of first year together. We do have Student Life, so that again houses a bunch of different services that again works on like creating social connections, doing workshops for students. We do have Ignite that hopefully most students are aware of, and they're a great, great, great student service, and they provide like financial support. I think they do lots of like workshops. They have things around wellness. Like they have like just a plethora of services. So I would say to check them out. We have the LGBTQ Resource Center. So for students who identify, who are LGBTQ plus identified, again, there's specific services for that students that identify within LGBTQ plus. And so again, supports and services and probably groups, many different things, as well. If you are identified, you're Black identified, we have the BASE, which is the Black Academic and Success Engagement. And again, it's for Black students. And again, I've done quite a bit with them over the semester. So they do great stuff. They have like King's Gathering, Queen's Gathering, so different like support groups based on gender. And then they also have just general kind of workshops and supports. And then Indigenous education and engagement. So if you are part of the Indigenous community and you're a student here, we just met with them the other day, and like I can't even name the number of services that they have, but I was kind of blown away in terms of how all encompassing it is. Like I think you get peer tutoring through them. They have a bead circle that they do weekly. So I would really encourage you to check out to see what's there. And then athletics. So athletics, despite the gym being closed, they are providing classes virtually. And as we did speak before, physical health is really important in terms for our mood and keeping well. And just a shout out, I do teach yoga Thursdays at 5 o'clock via Instagram. So they have a lot of great classes available. So I would say to check them out, and it's completely free, and it's either through Zoom or Instagram. Yeah, awesome. So there's lots. There's just, despite the fact that we're not physically at Humber, there's still so much going on. It's just all virtual. So I really encourage students to, take a look at the website and the different services that we have available.
No, for sure. I loved all the different like spaces you shouted out to, because so much of that involves like finding community in a virtual environment and connecting with others. Because like you said, it could feel so isolating working and being at home as a student in a pandemic. And so I think it's great that we have access to these online virtual events, like through First Year Experience, athletics with your yoga classes on Thursdays, folks. Write it down.
It is an intermediate class though, so if you're a beginner, it might be a bit challenging, but still come.
You can just take breaks where you need to.
Yeah, exactly.
And then also just another shout out to our previous We Got You Live episodes. We've done episodes with the BASE, so Black Academic Success and Engagement, and also the LGBTQ plus Resource Center, where we talk about how they support students. So if you want to learn more about some of their programming, go check those out in our IGTV. Next week, we're going to go live with IE&E, so Indigenous Education and Engagement, where we can learn more about some of the programming that they have, which Rose has mentioned a bit, with the weekly beading sessions or circles, and even the peer tutoring. We're so excited to learn more about what they have to provide to students too. And so this is a lot. We know it's a lot of information.
It is.
A good place for people to start to kind of navigate around is by going to wegotyou.humber.ca. And there you'll find everything that Rose mentioned and more. So this was, I think, a really good way to kind of wrap up our session. And before we end our live, let's just take a look at some of the questions we got. And then if we're not able to answer right now, we'll follow up in a story. So
for sure.
No worries, we won't do. So Rose, we got a question here. What's the what's the most common thing students come to you for on their mental health?
Yeah, so I think that I would say two things. It's usually students come for if they're having feelings of depression or anxiety. Those are two main mental health issues that we deal with. So we're pretty good with those issues. And also it's pretty normal for students, especially within the age range, to experience feelings of depression or anxiety, whether it's diagnosed or undiagnosed. So I would say those two, and then stress. I would say those three: stress, anxiety, and depression are probably our top issues that students come to seek support for.
That makes sense. And when I was accessing counseling, I think one of the best things I got from it was just hearing the fact that it's normal to have these experiences and feelings, because sometimes you feel like you're the only one struggling, but it's a shared experience, especially when we're all dealing with a pandemic. A lot of people are experiencing it, but they may or may not be sharing how they're feeling. And so also just a friendly reminder to check in on your friends and family, seeing how they're doing. So thanks for
Absolutely. Yeah, like keep those social connections if you can, even if it has to be virtually and it doesn't feel the same. It's so important for our mental health to be connected to other human beings.
Yeah, 100%. I always feel so I love the word elevated. Like I feel so elevated after chatting with friends. So that's really
Yeah.
awesome. Um, we have someone who said, I feel like also has been harder and harder because workload with online learning equals 1,000. So now there's a lot of screen time, and that's a huge effect on sleep. Yeah, I relate to that. My
Yeah.
sleep has wonky.
Yeah, it's crazy how much screen time we have now. Yeah,
Hmm.
and how draining that can be for sure.
For sure. And tips for screens, with like phones, you can change the temperature, which is supposed to help too, like changing from blue to orange. So just like a nice tip for folks listening still.
Oh,
And
I actually didn't know about that. That's cool.
yeah, and we got another question here. It says, "Who should I reach for counseling therapy? I joined late. Would love to know."
Perfect. So what I would say is to email counseling@humber.ca, and you would reach out to them and just say that I would like to make an appointment with a counselor, and somebody will get back to you. And then based on their schedules, they'll book you in for an appointment. The first appointment is an intake appointment. It's about 45 minutes long, where you meet with a counselor. We'll ask quite a few questions just around your history and around social supports and your academics, and then we'll spend some time figuring out what brought you to counseling today and how can we sort of support you. So that's kind of what the first appointment looks like, and then you move forward from there. But I would reach out to counseling@humber.ca. They're really quick at replying back and getting you an appointment.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, our I think it's our front desk staff that answer the emails, and they're an amazing team. I think everyone who works at Black and Humber in general are amazing. So we're all just here to help you succeed at Humber, whether it be in person or in a virtual environment. And so thank you so much for that question. I think that brings us to the end. I don't see any other questions, but if folks who are tuning in later want to check out the beginning of this episode, we're posting it to IGTV, so check that out. And with that said, I just wanted to say, oh, Rose, did you have any like additional comments you want to leave for folks?
Just that I would say, I kind of want to normalize the fact that it can be a little bit scary to come to counseling and a little intimidating, but I think we are really such a great bunch of counselors that we really make sure that your experience, like we're very welcoming and it's very safe. So what I would say is that if anybody is sort of struggling with their mental health, loneliness, feeling a bit anxious or a bit depressed, please reach out and come to see us, and we'll help you through that. Yeah, so I just want to encourage people that are struggling to really to reach out to us and let us help to support you.
That's amazing. Yeah, actually, I remember the first time I went and accessed counseling, I literally had to be walked there with my friend because I was so afraid of going.
I
I was
know.
having the worst day, and then she's like, "Here, I'll take you. They're so great there."
Yeah, I know. And that's okay. Yeah, that's okay to have like, I mean, you can't do that now. Somebody can't walk you now, but yeah, it can be a little bit like, ooh, what's that like? But trust me, I think that the feedback that we get from students is that it's a positive experience and not as scary as they thought it would be. And kind of, it's like at the end of the day, it's a conversation, right? We're just talking to you about what's going on in your life and helping you through that. So just look at it, it's like a conversation.
Yeah, it's the best. Highly recommend. And I think that was a fantastic way to wrap up. And so thank you so much, Rose, for providing so much value today for our viewers and listeners. I think I think students can get so much out of this episode. And if we have any other questions, feel free to send us a DM and we'll get back to you right away. And if we're not able to answer, we'll connect with Rose to get you the most like right answer. And so with that said, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me, and I hope everybody that's tuning in is having as best of a semester as they can. And I know reading week for some students, so I hope that people are able to kind of relax a bit too. That's important. Okay, thanks, Amanda.
No problem. Thank you, Rose. Bye, everyone.
Bye.